Zhongli has come back to Genshin Impact for the 3rd time, and so today, I want to share with you guys one of the easiest and best builds that I recommend for everyone, especially those of you rolling for or have just gotten him. The CEO of GEO is extremely unique and is in an extremely rare class of characters that can be built in at least 3 different manners. But today I want to go over what is arguably one of the most important ways that anyone can build him up front. Whether you're PC, console, mobile, free-to-play, low spender, whale, or anything in between, this can help you and your account out. If any of you are familiar with MMOs, this support build is the equivalent of the tank on your team. It eats up all the damage, and unlike MMOs, this tank actually lets you skip mechanics so you don't have to dodge. Zhongli is literally so strong and broken that miHoYo had to create new enemies that can counter him just to bring him down a notch. He's that good. Despite this, Zhongli is still one of the safest characters that anyone can pull due to his massive versatility. I've had him for over a year and I promise you he makes anything and everything easy mode. He is far and away the most used character that I own and it's not close. Keep in mind that he's just about as flexible a character as they come, so if you try this out and you aren't a fan of it, don't worry. This is just the most safe and consistent build that I recommend to everyone. Over time, as you feel more comfortable, you can start branching out and try some of the other options that Zhongli also offers. The build itself is fairly simple, but it is easily the best starting foundation for any Zhongli. I don't call it all reliable for nothing. Here's what you'll need for the build. I recommend getting him to level 70, or roughly the same level as your strongest character if they aren't at least level 70. As a support, the level doesn't matter too much, just the higher the level means more HP and higher talent levels. I started out with him at level 70 for a while, and then once I had a lot of resources, then I leveled him to 80. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Every journey has its final day. Don't rush. For artifacts on Shieldbot, all you need is a Tenacity of the Millilith set, 2 pieces at minimum. I'll go over in another video why the 4-piece isn't completely necessary, but it's definitely better than nothing. Just focus on getting what you can for now. And whatever you do, please don't put the Retracing Bolide set on Shield Zhongli. It's meant for another build. The shield boost only actually works when Zhongli is out on the field, and for this build, he won't be out on the field very much. For specific tenacity pieces, you'll want HP Sands, HP Goblet, and HP Hat. One of these can be an off piece though if you already have a decent flower and feather. For the flower and the feather, the main substat you'll want is HP %, and you want to stack as much of that as possible. And for all the other pieces, energy recharge is a great substat to use your ultimate as a panic button, followed by flat HP. But honestly, the beauty of this build is that you don't need to fret too much about farming artifact sets for months. As long as you get the 3 HP % pieces, and 4, or heck even 2 tenacity pieces, that's good enough. For your weapon, you'll need a level 90 Black Tassel. If you've never heard of this thing, it is a 3-star weapon, so I hope you didn't use them all as weapon fodder. And finally, arguably the most important thing is to get your shield skill talent as high as you can. Don't worry about the other talents for this build. And that's literally it, that's the build. Unlike other builds, you don't have to worry at all about crit, attack, and gobs of energy recharge, since his only job is to protect you. Your goal should be at minimum 40,000 HP to start, and if you can, around 50,000 if possible. Unless you're going for meme milestones, you don't really have to worry about getting anywhere near 60,000. If you get there, awesome. If you can't, do not worry at all, like I said. If you are trying to get 60,000, I would highly just recommend you try and farm sets for some of his other unique builds, like the burst builds or his physical DPS, to eventually try to build those, since the tank build is not the only one of his. Now, if you could do me a favor and boop the like button, if any of this at all has been of service to you, that would be greatly appreciated. And here's a quick recap of the materials that you'll need for a level 70 Zhongli. If you plan to, say, get a level 80 Zhongli, or you plan to get your talents higher or lower, I highly recommend this tool called the Genshin Sealy Planner. You can fully customize any and all characters, weapons, talents, and just about anything in between. And it even tells you which days you need to farm for if you enter it correctly. It's a super underrated tool, and if you guys are planning for like any kind of content in the future, I highly recommend you trying it out. You are virtually indestructible and can ignore 99% of the mechanics in the game. As long as your shield is up, you also get an additional enemy resistance shred, which increases your damage by an average of 16%. If something does go wrong and your shield breaks, you can use your ultimate to petrify everyone in place and buy you some time to deploy a second shield. The game can get so easy that it gets stale and boring. You only get one Zhongli. If you are someone that plans to attempt Spiral Abyss, keep in mind that means one of your teams will probably have to do mechanics like dodging, so I hope you're ready. Because the shield build Zhongli does absolutely nothing for combat, you are pigeonholing yourself to teams of 3 characters rather than 4, and those 3 will generally have to be a bit stronger than average to compensate for losing out on that extra teammate. There are a couple scenarios where your shield can actually break, even at high HP like 50,000, so be very careful. Some scenarios I've noticed in the past include Electro Sisson's Hamster Ball mode, Cryo Abyss Mage's Icicle Fog, Pyro Abyss Mage's Fire Dragon Attack, some of Ajdaha's damage over time attacks, and the 4 Ruin Guards, especially when they enter Beyblade mode. That's terrifying. Honestly, it's nothing mind-blowing. They're generally dot attacks, and you can get out of range of them pretty easily. I know that sounds really basic, but when you've been using Zhongli this long, your brain goes into autopilot mode really fast, and you begin to ignore everything. So just be careful, you're not immune to 100% of attacks, just 99. Well, it's closer to 98 now, since there's new enemies with mechanics that can ignore shields such as Corrosion. This was mainly done as a way to nerf him and other shield users because he's literally that strong. But Zhongli can still help guard against the other attacks that they do, and of course he still petrifies. Just make sure you take a healer like Bennett along for those fights and you should be fine. There's probably a handful of others as well, but I'd say that these are the main pros and cons with Shieldbot Zhongli. I hope that all of you planning to roll for him can get him, and to everyone else that already owns him, please let the others know how much you already love or hate him. Zhongli has a lot of stands, and for good reason. If you ever get bored of one playstyle, you can always move on to another, and there aren't many other characters in this game that you can say the same for. If you have any further questions, or just want to chat with me, I recommend either coming over to my Discord or asking me on Twitch whenever I stream. I'll put both links in the description down below. I'll be more than happy to answer any other questions that you guys have on just about anything. Thank you so much for watching. May all of your bulls be blessed with RNG. Stay awesome. Peace out.